Hello everybody, it's Lucy Wolfe here, sleep consultant and author of The Baby Sleep Solution and all about the Baby Sleep Solution and creator of the online Baby Sleep Plan course. I hope that you're really well today. I know that some of you are wondering about a split night and what you might be able to do to address this. A split night, from my understanding, is when your baby sleeps for a portion of the night and then stays awake for a long period of time before returning to sleep. I don't normally call it a split night. I actually would normally call it a long wakeful period overnight. But look, ultimately they are the same thing. And I suppose when we're trying to address this particular sleep challenge, generally lots of items need to be taken into account because there are a lot of force factors that actually contribute to this particular issue. The most influential item is overtiredness. So very often overtiredness is actually what causes that long wake profile, and then the long wake profile promotes even more overtiredness because your baby has stayed awake for a longer period overnight and may or may not nap adequately then during the day, and it's a little bit of a rolling cycle. The overtiredness that seems to contribute mostly to the split night long wake period effect is when there is too big a gap between the last nap and bedtime. So your child is, as a result, overtired going to sleep at bedtime. So for those of you who don't already know, I do tend to work off what I call a nap gap dynamic, which honors the science of sleep and the relationship between day sleep and bedtime. So very simply, and although there will be variation within that, most young children between 4 months and 8 months do really well if they achieve sleep within 2 hours of the last nap for bedtime. Between 8 months and 18 months, that gap is maybe between 3 to 4 hours. From 18 months to 3 years, at which point maybe your child won't nap anymore, that wake profile benefits from being somewhere between 4 to 5 hours. If your child is in an overnight long wake profile, consistent waking, then I always adjust that period and I work off the lower end of the scale. So for example, if your child was 9 months old, I'd be looking for them to maybe nap as close to 3:30 as possible, and then addressing bedtime as close to 7 as I can to close that gap up. So then I'm addressing that piece of overtiredness. Another driving force for this split night characteristic is when the daytime sleep is well timed. The gap between the last nap and bed again is quite well positioned, but there is what I might describe as being a nap imbalance, which means the first nap is longer and stronger than the second or the subsequent daytime sleeps. And very often we need to look at addressing or tailoring nap number 1 to try and promote specifically the nap number 2, and when needed, the third and the fourth nap based on your child's age and their stage. Most young children from 8 months plus are on 2 naps in the day, and that may be 2 naps of equal duration. Or if you're reporting that you're having this particular problem and your first nap is longer and stronger than the second nap, I might cut nap 1 to an hour or 45 minutes to promote the second nap, so that way then I don't have an overtired child at bedtime because that nap wasn't able to carry the can. Then I will move and look at other things that might cause that. And so another characteristic of this split night effect that you might be reporting is when your child is not able to put themselves to sleep at bedtime. So if they need you to do anything for them, play something for them, hold something for them, hold something belonging to you, feed them, rock them, roll them. If their sleep ability is on the low end of the scale, what you might find is they sleep a good portion of the night, they fill their sleep tank, but then they find it really difficult to return to sleep because their sleep ability at bedtime is not high enough. So again, I'll always talk to you about improving their sleep ability, and as I improve their sleep ability, I'll also look at reducing that overtired tank. And then of course I will look at what are you doing overnight to treat the waking, and I suppose having a really predictable, consistent response helps also to reduce the risks of that long wake period overnight. And so it's a case of deciding how are you going to respond to that waking. Typically at this point I would use my stay and support approach, which helps you to verbally, physically, emotionally attend to your child without changing sleeping locations, reintroducing feeds that maybe you don't feel are needed, and having a really predictable response to your child. So that not only are you dealing with the force factors of the waking, but you're also dealing with the waking itself. And again, just be careful that you're observing my age relevant feeding and sleeping balances, and as you're doing that you end up moving your naps into position into the clock based timings, so that you're not on a wake profile all of the time once your sleep challenges are being addressed, and successfully addressed, I would hope. So I hope that is helpful, and of course I look forward to seeing you here again soon.